so let's start this. Okay, so we are recording, good. Alright, so what we'll do is create first our product, or not our product model, our category model. So what I'm going to do is just that. So I'm not going to use Spring Tool Suite just because it just is slow. So we will just use Sublime, for example. So what I'm going to do is just grab literally everything from our product model, copy it, and then just paste it over here, change some words, and then we can kind of just start stubbing in the attributes that we'll need. The only thing that's going to be annoying is creating these setters and getters manually. But other than that, we should be okay. I'm going to get rid of everything except for the set ID and get ID, because all of these will always have an ID. So we're going to change this from product to just category, and the same with this constructor down here. I'll just change this to category. So categories don't have a cost. That doesn't make sense. So let's get rid of this. And then I think all we need is pretty much just a name, right? I think all we need is a name. Then we can change this to give your category a name, for example. Alright, so all we're doing is basically just making this into a model. So let's just change this to category name required, for example. Alright, so that's all we need over here. This can just have a name, and we need to figure out how to do the relationship. So if we're going to have many products in here, then how would we write that? If you remember from the Dojo's Ninjas example, there's a couple annotations we need, actually. Yes, we're going to need an @ManytoMany, actually, not an @one-to-many. Alright, so here's what this will probably end up looking like. You'll probably have to bear with me. I don't remember the entirety of the syntax, but what we do want is this. An @ManytoMany, alright? Then we're going to have another annotation, and it looks like this. It's called join table, like this. Alright, and then there's three things we're going to give this. First of all, what is the many-to-many table that we want it to be called? So we have our product model, our category model, and what we put in here, the first thing we put in here is what do you want to call basically the many-to-many table that holds, the join table, that holds just these two IDs. So the first thing we pass in here is a name, and we can say, it would probably make sense to call this categories underscore products, or products underscore categories, or whatever you want. So this is the first thing we're going to put into this join table attribute. All right, and then underneath that's where we'll define that this is a list that contains products, an array list of products. So that's going to happen after this here. Inside of many-to-many, that's actually really simple. So all that really goes inside of here is a fetch, I believe, equals fetch type. Oops, my bad. Fetch type dot lazy. So that's all that goes in the many-to-many for now. And that should be all it is. So this join table, this is just the name of our many-to-many. And then there's two other weird column names that we need. So one of them is called inverse join columns, and then one's called join columns. So basically, what do you want to join into? What are the attributes that you want to put into this table? Well, we want a category ID and a product ID. So we have to tell it that. All right, so this one is called join columns, like this, plural, equals, and then an @join column, like this. So it's really weird. So this, basically, the way this works is you need to pass this inside of here, a name, and this is the name of the foreign key that you want to store, basically. So I'll give you two tips that'll help you remember which one does what, at least what I think is useful for me. So this one here is the inverse, is called inverse join column, I believe, with an S on the end, I think. And this is also a join column, like this. Alright, so this is the opposite foreign key that you want to store. So this one is like, this will be product ID, or category ID. This one's going to be product ID. Alright, so we need to tell it both of those things. Alright, so what goes in here is the names of those. So it's going to look something like this. These both have this one name attribute. Alright, and then inside of here, this is, the way I like to remember this is, if you have join columns, whatever the class is that you're in that is a many-to-many, that's the name of the thing that you want to put inside of here. So it's going to be the same in the other model, except it's going to be opposite, because you're going to flip these foreign keys around. So that's how I like to remember it, is whatever the name of the class is, that's what your join column is. It's not the inverse one. So this is going to be category, for example, underscore ID. Alright, so it's just telling us which ones do we want it to join onto. Alright, so guess what that one's going to be? Pretty straightforward. Yeah, so product underscore ID. So we're storing these two things in this table. That's all we're kind of specifying. So it's going to be this identical thing, in fact, in our other model. So the nice thing about the many-to-many is you can literally copy this whole thing, paste it in our products model, and that's it. And you change one thing. Because in a one-to-many, you actually just have to have the one thing that has an array list, and in the other model, it's the single thing. But in many-to-many, it's the same across the board. You just paste it and flip one thing. So honestly, I feel like many-to-many is simpler in the model design scenario. So what am I going to put under here? Because we've just put in like a ton of annotations, all this junk, but what am I actually storing in? How do I want to store it?
A list.
Yeah. Okay, so is it going to be public or private?
Private.
Yeah, so what am I going to put here?
It's an array list.
Yes, it is an array list. So let's say array list. We want to store an array list that contains, at least on this model, a category contains many products, right? So that's why this is an array list.
So it's category though. It's called a categories list, right? Not the product list.
This will be products.
Products.
Yeah, so here's the way you can look at this also. So we're in the category model, and one category has many products. So that's why this is a list of products, so that our category can have this multiple products field. And then it's going to be the opposite on the other model. So it's like when we're in our product, we'll have an array list of category called categories.
So each array list has a category ID.
Correct.
So, the join and inverse join?
Yes.
Is that how it like automatically, when you add a new category to a product, it will automatically add the product?
No, it doesn't do that.
It doesn't do that?
I don't think it does that, actually. You have to do it manually.
Really?
I think so. From what I remember, you have to do both. But we'll find out shortly. But I think there is a way to solve that. Because from what I remember, it's like, you might be right, actually. I think that is the way it works.
It does work when you just add
Just to the one
like
side of the relationship?
category to the product,
Oh, yeah.
It automatically adds the product.
Okay, good. Well, then you're right then.
I think it's similar to Django or
Yeah. See, because like in the mean stack, it's not like that. That's why I said no,
Oh, okay.
because I was thinking of that. Because in mean, if you want to do a many-to-many, you have to add it to both sides of the model, which is really annoying. But yeah, not in Java. Okay, so this is great. This is all we need in here. This is a private, and this is actually going to break if I put this in here. It should just be a list. So that's one thing to remember too, is you can't put an array list in a model in Java, at least not in Spring. So this should be a list, not an array list.
Why is that?
I can show you why. If I save, it'll be like, what are you doing? So the reason for that is because array list is a class, but list, just only list, is an interface. So it's trying to populate. Like this array list when you like make a query, but I don't remember actually. So we're just gonna look at the error. So I'll show you that. But from what I remember, it has to actually be a list here. But if I leave this as just an array list, let's see what happens. Let me close this. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. All right, so let's just restart the server really quick and see if that actually made our model for us. So it should break. For actually a majority of reasons. For one, I haven't imported this annotation or this annotation. So, or array list. So there's a couple things I need to import, and this is just because I decided to do this in Sublime, so I kind of, caused this problem on my own. So I'm going to go ahead and import ArrayList. Should be java.util, .ArrayList. And then it was complaining to me about this annotation, so many-to-many and join table. So this is where, if you were doing this in Sublime, then you would just do this. You'd be like, at many-to-many annotation, Java Spring. Yeah, so this is the package that it comes from. So right away I found out where it comes from. So now I can say import from JavaX persistence many-to-many. So I was just looking for the package name of that. So now I can say import javax.persistence.many-to-many. So that should fix that one. And then I also need, it told me I broke something else, which was this join table annotation, which is probably from the same place. So I'm going to copy this line, paste it, change this to join table. because it's probably from there as well. So I'm going to save this and restart. So I was just importing stuff to make errors go away, so we can see what the real error is, if that makes sense. Oh, join column. See, I missed this one too. Alright. So let me grab that. Join column. Alright, one more restart, and that should have been all the imports, possibly, I think. So what else is the real error? Fetch type? Does it say value must be a constant?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think I imported that either. See, if I use Spring Tool Suite, this is actually why Spring Tool Suite is good to use, because now I had to import all this stuff manually, whereas Spring Tool Suite does that for me. So that is the major difference. I think it wants me to import this fetch type dot lazy. So let me look this up. Fetch type dot lazy Java Spring. Not the difference. Fetch type dot lazy. Oh, I think I actually linked this. That was nice. So it comes from java.lang.object, or this here. So import this whole thing, and then I suppose the word .lazy, because it's an enum, or just that. I'm not sure. One of the two. I think that's what we wanted. I'm not sure. Let's see what it says this time. It actually started, so that's cool. But it should break. Yeah. So it should break because there's a couple more things we need to do. First of all, that thing I was talking about, because we made it an array list, it should say that somewhere in here, and you'll notice, actually if I scroll down a little bit, it'll, yeah, so here's your best friend, entity manager factory. So you'll see this all the time. It's because of it's a model, it's a relational issue right now. Yeah, so right here it actually describes what the real issue is. Illegal attempt to map non-collection as a one-to-many or many-to-many. So the problem is really, it's pretty vague too. Like, what does that even mean? So
This is not a type collection.
right. So what they want us to do is just make this a list and not an array list. So that'll fix this one issue. Now, over in our product model, what we're going to do is basically grab this whole thing that we just came up with, this whole thing, and put it into our product model. And just change it up to what it should be. So I'm going to paste this over here. So this is good. The many-to-many can stay. The join table can stay. This should still stay the name of our many-to-many table. And now what we're going to do is just flip these two things, and that's it. So we're just flipping which one it should bind to.
Are we changing the list as well?
Yes. So it's like change that one thing, and then we need to change the type that this is storing. So we're not storing a product in this case. We're going to be storing categories, right? So one product has many categories. So now we can say make this a category. Call this, for example, categories, and that's all we need.
Yeah.
Oh man, category. All right, so
So, for all intents and purposes, is this the same, the equivalent that we had the array and mean, where you just shove the IDs as opposed to methods in the table?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So in the many-to-many table, it's just storing IDs,
Okay,
right?
it's not shoving your whole object. It's just
Right, it's just the IDs that it's putting in there. But once you get them out, then you can go look for the whole object once you make a join. All right, so that's pretty much it for our models. That's all we really needed to add. So what we'll do is we'll restart the server now, and it should be fine with what we've come up with, because it's pretty much the same as what the platform will have you do. I don't think we did anything outside of that or different. It looks like I just need to import all the same stuff in our product model as we did over in here. Yeah, so let's grab these like bottom 4 or 5 up to here, and I'll just put them in our product. So paste this, save, and we'll try again. Broke something else. What else did I break?
You have to import list. because
List?
we
Oh.
We had array list, not regular list.
Yeah, so let's just say java.util.list, not array list. We'll change this one too. Okay, we're getting there. But once the models are done, we can start messing with like the controller stuff. And the more important portion of this, actually. Because once you figure out how the models work, which is usually pretty straightforward, or I think that that's probably the most complicated portion, but you might not think so. So that's why during the controller portion of this, I want to make sure that it does make sense. All right, so it's totally fine with what we came up with. The server's actually running now. All right, so we have our models pretty much done. So in order to make this work now, we can get rid of our models folder. We don't need this right now. And generally, if you want, you don't have to do this, but I usually make a different controller per model. You don't have to. You can shove everything in one controller and be totally safe with that. So I'm gonna just make a new controller for everything that has to do with just categories, just to organize stuff. You don't have to do that, though. So I'm gonna just make a new one, new file. We can call this, for example, category controller .java. I'm going to grab everything that was in our product controller and just paste it over here again, and then we'll just delete all this stuff just to get some basic stuff underway. So delete all this, because we're probably not going to do like full CRUD for categories. We just need to be able to create them and then show all the products that belong to one of them, for the most part. Okay, so this is going to be not product. I'm going to look for the word product everywhere and just replace it with category. Okay, that's not going to work. I pressed D too many times. There we go. Okay, category. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to just rename some of this stuff that broke, because this is wrong, and this is wrong. This is wrong. What else did I break? Oh, this? Yeah, that was just because I was still renaming things, but yes. So we'll create a category here, get all of the categories from the database, put them on the page. Okay, so.
Just read at the bottom from line 33.
Line 33. List of categories equals category service all. What am I changing? This?
Right there. To line, yeah.
Correcting my spelling, are we? Just kidding. Just kidding. Thank you. All right, so we have a really, really basic category controller. All it does is has one method to go to /categories, and it shows us this. So it gets all of our categories that ever existed, puts them on our page. All right, so what we can do is just make a new view to show all categories. I'm going to just call it categories. All right, so there is that right there. And then I'm going to create the view for it really quick. Categories.jsp. I kind of want to just grab this, paste it over here. I'm going to do kind of a lot of copy and pasting only because I'm in Sublime and it's going to take forever otherwise because I don't have STS. At least not right now. So I guess we could have it just kind of like we did where when we were creating a product, you go to /products and it lets you create a product on the view and shows you all the products. So we'll do the same with the category one. So honestly, we could probably leave the form that we already had here and just fill in all the stuff we need. So that'll be really cool. Because we only need one thing. So I'm going to call this just categories here and then also categories here. All right, so we're going to keep the same kind of weird form that we've been using. Right, so what we're going to do is send to this page a copy of a category. It's blank, right? And that person will fill out all the attributes they have to. All right, so we're going to change this action to just post to categories. And I'm going to change this model attribute that will fix in the controller in a second if I didn't yet to just category. So that's what it's binding to. All right, so then all we had was just name for categories, I think. So let's get rid of this. This will just be for creating a category. So notice in this, we're not going to be binding any foreign keys or anything yet. This is just to create a category because we don't want to bind anything yet. So that's what this is for. All right, so the create category is there. It has a name, and that's it.
Wow, the table. You want to keep it posted?
Sorry?
The table?
This table?
Yeah.
Oh, cost? We can get rid of that, sure. Alright, so we have gotten rid of cost, and we're just showing their name, and that's fine. We can leave this here. Now it's going to break. Let's get rid of it. We won't have an action yet. We'll just get rid of this. Yeah. Change this to categories /ID. And this will be looping categories, and then that should work. So we just renamed some stuff so that it'll work for a category model. Alright, so we should be able to now create a route for /categories and make a post to it and create a category. So we're going to do that really quick before we see this page, because it's probably going to break if we try to load it.
You're not finding anything yet, but you have their model attribute.
Correct.
category, so you can.
Correct. It should work actually. So actually, yeah, let's test it. So if I go to our controller, our category controller, yeah, see, I need this to be lowercase c, because we said our model attribute on the form was lowercase c. So let me make this lowercase, and now it should be fine. I'm going to make this lowercase too. And then in categories, that's what we just fixed, was that capital C here. So that should work. So why don't we try to see if we can just at least show this view now. So I'm going to restart the server. So now we can go to /categories, and it'll show us that form. Or not. We don't have a category service, by the way. It's looking for one. We don't have one of those. So how about we just do this, just temporarily. Comment this, get rid of all that. Just have a blank constructor. And I'll get rid of all this. That's all we need is this one line, just to test our view. Alright, it was getting mad at us because we don't have a service for categories yet. So now let's test this.
When you're building it, essentially you can do that where you can comment everything out, see if the view's ready, and start populating it.
Yeah, you could totally do that. I figured we would just do this first just so we can see if we're getting our view to do what we want.
I just wasn't sure if Java was that particular with.
Oh, yeah. So it yelled at me because I'm trying to use category, but I didn't import it, so I'm going to do this. And this doesn't exist yet either, so I'm going to comment this import for our category service. So a lot of this is stuff that would really be solved with Spring Tool Suite. A lot of the errors we're having right now. So just keep that in mind. I think we're good now though. Alright, so that's fine. 7 seconds to launch that. Pretty slow. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit /categories, and it should show us a form for creating a category, even though the method to create one doesn't exist yet. Let's see. Oh hey, guess what? I know why this doesn't work, but basically we didn't create something really specific in our models, and it's yelling at us for not doing it. Yeah, exactly. It tells you that too. It's like, hey, do you have a getter for this thing? You didn't cheat? That's not cheating. That's just reading your error. Oh, well, good call. What's a bean? A bean is basically, you know, you throw them on the floor. No, okay. It's literally just a. So there's Java beans, and then there's something called a Pojo. We didn't actually really go over this, but basically a bean is just a Java object. And it has certain attributes and annotations on it that let you save it to a database, for example. And then there's something called a Pojo, which basically is called a plain old Java object. It's just a normal Java object that you've been using since the beginning of the curriculum in Java. So the difference between a bean and a Pojo is really that a bean can be saved to a database, mostly.
Pojo can't.
Pojo can't, it's just a normal Java object.
Because it
So-
doesn't have the attribute.
And like also when you Google, a bunch of people's codes are
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be like @bean, and it's just weird. Yeah, because we don't really even have anything regarding that really on the curriculum, so that's actually outside of the scope of the curriculum. So where were we at? We need to fix our setters and getters on our category model. It is going to take a while, so
that no,
Watch me type
category-
for a while.
Category only has a name, so we only need to get the name and set the name.
Correct.
Yeah. Should do it.
No, we have to do it for products too. Yeah, we need to set products and get products, right? For our array list of products. So do public void set name. This should be a string. And then this will say this dot name equals name. It's only going to take like 30 seconds. Alright, so just making the getters that it generates for you usually. So there's one for our set name, get name. We'll do the same thing for set, what is it, products? Set products. So this is going to be an array list of products called products equals products.
So why can we get away with ArrayList here, but not
Oh,
there?
it shouldn't be, sorry. It should be a list, thank you.
You say why is it list instead of ArrayList again?
That's a good question. It's well, for one, here's what I know. An array list is a class. A list is an interface. So what that tells me is whoever designed the array list class implemented the list interface. That's literally the most I know.
Something had to do with like collections. Like
Yeah.
The list is part of a collection, or a collection class, but an array list.
Yeah.
Must not.
Something like that. All right, so products, we have a way to set products and return and get products. So now that should be fixed. All right, so I'm going to just restart. And then we'll refresh, and that form should be okay now. There might be one or two other little errors, but it should be good. Refresh. All right, cool. So now we have this form kind of set up, and it will eventually display any categories we create. So now we can actually figure out how we're going to create the category. So let's really quickly go do that, and then we're going to go move on after this to the portion that really matters, joining the foreign keys, so making a join happen. All right, so now that we're done with this, let's go ahead and create, we probably called the post mapping, or we have our JSP posting to just /products as well. So let's just make a post to do that for us. So you can see we're posting this /categories with this form. All right, so what we'll do is just really say public string. Let's just call this create. So if we're creating a category, and I'll collapse that sidebar. This time we'll make this a post mapping, right? And it won't go to /products because we already have that up here, or /categories. So this will just be empty. And if we're creating a category, what are the things that I actually need in here?
Oh no.
There's like,
Creating categories. So we want add valid. We want
Yeah.
add
so this thing, yeah, so that, we need model attribute. And we probably have this as category. And then what is this? What's after this?
It's the type, so it's another
Yeah.
category.
Yeah, so it better be a category there.
Category.
Yeah.
And then we need right after that add what's that other thing?
Binding some.
Binding results.
Yeah, binding result, right? So if there's any issues, this will figure that out. So that's what the binding result really is. All right, so there's that. And then we'll just do the same old check that we usually do and just say, hey, if this model has errors with saving it, show us those. Otherwise, put it in the database. All right, so that's what we'll say here. Yep, so if we have errors with it, then show us the same page we're already on, which should be categories. So re-render, otherwise redirect. Redirect to /categories. Right, and then that,
Also check that at redirect whatever thing in the dependency area.
oh, redirect attributes. No, you don't actually need. Honestly, you don't even need Flash in Spring because of this.
Okay,
It
that's
just
only if you
throws
want.
one.
That's only if you want the flash messages for something different.
Yeah, if you make like a custom form, or if you don't use this binding form thing, this two-way bound form, then you do have to Flash the thing. Otherwise, if you use the form, then it makes this really easy. That's why I like using it. We don't have to use Flash and all that stuff. All right, so it should actually now, if we try to create a category, it should work. Actually, it should not, because we don't have a service for a category, so we have the logic set up for this. So right above this redirect is where we would tell our category service to save the new category. Right? We don't have a category service yet. So how do I make one of those? Remember?
Yeah.
So we have.
Public category.
Well, actually, it's all right here. So it's actually all right here. So we commented this out earlier, and it's not going to work yet because we have to create that service. So I'll just uncomment what we do need, which is to create the service here, initialize it, then assign it via dependency injection. Right, and then this is going to make our query eventually when someone hits the page. So that's what that does. That just shoves all of the categories from our database onto the page. So basically, when we make this query here and it creates it, when we refresh and get redirected, it shows it.
So it needs to be in the list instead of ArrayList.
Not in this case. So only in the model do you need to use list instead of ArrayList. If it's like a foreign key, it's weird. So only in your models do you need a list. So this should work. Well, not yet, but we still have to create our service. So how can I do that?
Your services.
Yeah, so let's go over here, create a class. Nope, don't do that. All right, so new category service .java. All right, and then here's what we'll do is copy everything from this service and put it over here, because all of these methods are going to probably exist in this service. They're going to be the same. We'll just name stuff differently. Again. All right, so in this case, we're going to get rid of everything that says product again and just replace it with category. So that's what's going to be pretty nice here. So we're not importing our product model here. We're going to import our category model. This is no longer product service. I'm going to look for all the capital ones. Name these to capital category. There's that. Oh, thank you. All the capital products, where are they all at? There's another one. And this one. So, category. Okay. That's great. Now I'm going to look for all the lowercase ones and just name these lowercase category. It's still faster than doing it manually. Product. Oh, that's weird. Category and then product. That just makes no sense. Destroy this one and this. Okay, I think we got them all. Oh, thanks. That would have broke eventually. Okay, so we'll name this category. And
Yeah, would you let it talk? Imported one right there.
yes, good catch. Good catch.
Two more
Where?
in the middle above.
Oh wait, no, that's what we named it, right? Oh, that's not.
Oh, these? Yeah, this is the actual package name. So those ones we will keep. It's just because we named the whole app products. Probably a bad idea, but it's okay.
Create your repository.
Yeah, so we need a repository now so that the service can work. So we're kind of working backwards here. That's why I usually like to start with like the models, then repositories, services, then controllers. But that's okay.
Well, we started with one function first before doing it.
Right. Right. So now we need an interface for our repository, for our category repository. Right. So let's do that. This is the easy one. That's a one-liner. At least for now, it will be. Category repository.java. Why don't we just grab this, paste it here, change this to category, and then we're done. Yes, and then we'll change this to category. Good catch. So that's all we needed to do. So now we have a repository for our category model. It says go query this table when we use this type of object or repo. All right, so that's all we should need there. Let's close out repositories, close out services, and go back to our controller finally. And I'm going to uncomment this category service from our controller, because that should work now. And then I'm going to just restart the server, because we kind of changed a lot. So I want to see if we broke things. definitely possible. We did break things. Controllers.
Your,
Category controller. 39.
Because at the top, I think you copied.
It says I broke this. It says line 39 category controller.
Identifier expected?
Indent 102 on 39. At valid, at model attribute, category, category, category. And all this. I don't know, that looks pretty accurate. Do you guys spot anything out of the ordinary with that?
What's it supposed to be? It's category, and one singular, one plural.
Well, this is the type of the thing that we're accepting from the user, from the request. This is the model type, or the type of the thing that we're getting, and this is just whatever we feel like calling it. This is just the variable name of this whole thing. So I don't know what we broke, but let's see this again. Maybe there's another error that's more useful. You can look at controllers 102, 39, and then 102. Identifier expected. What does that mean? Create model attribute. On the model?
But if you got the errors on that,
Maybe. It could be that.
at your model, maybe copy something, I think at the top, I think the product part,
Wait, on our category model? Let's look at that, okay? So what were you saying on here? Oh. Yeah, I think it's just a syntax thing we broke,
Yeah, I think
honestly.
It might be comma missing somewhere.
Yeah, why don't we just do this? Here's how we can test it. Just ditch this for a minute and get rid of this and that and that. So I just want to compile it with like nothing in here for a second, and then we'll test this. Just to get this kind of underway quickly, because there's probably other errors. Yeah, see? There's another underlying error. All can't be referenced from a static context on line 33. Okay. 33, so this might be breaking, which may have caused this to break. So that's a thing that does happen. So let's figure out why that is. Category service dot all. See, this is a capital C, that should be a lowercase c. Because we're trying to call it as a static method on the class, but it's not. We actually have an instance here. That'll fix that one. Capital C versus lower c can break things. So that'll happen sometimes. Spring logo's there. Good old ASCII art. It may have been it. Alright, so now that that's up, that's cool. Let's bring back the stuff that we broke from before. So that was our at valid at model attribute. And we had category. This was category capital for the type. This was lowercase. Binding result. Res, and that was it. So let's just leave that. I'm not even going to put the if in there, just to see if that compiles now. Restart, because that should not be the issue. Yeah, what does that mean? It's the same thing. I have an idea. Let's reference our other controller where we did the identical thing, the same thing, and I bet you they're the same. Product controller create. Let's look at this one and how we did this. At valid, model attribute product, binding result, res. I'm going to literally copy this and compare it with the one we made. Oh, I did. Thank you. Good catch. All right, so that is the problem. This at symbol should not be there. Good catch. No at symbols. Not on that one.
Bad annotation.
It's not an annotation, right. Alright, so should be good. We should be able to create categories separately from products now. There's no relation happening yet, so we're going to do that as the last thing, and that's pretty much it. So that'll be the most probably complex part of it, but you'll see how it works, and I'll make sure that it makes sense.
Honestly, for an IDE, without an IDE, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I usually just use Sublime. Honestly.
Just 2 errors out of the entire stretch. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's create a toiletries. I thought we created these already. Toiletries. Huh? Toiletries? Fine. What kind of category do you want to make?
No, you like
We're not going with food. We're gonna make people hungry again. Yep. All right. Let's create a couple more. So I don't know if it's actually doing anything. It's actually not creating any. Who knows why?
Well, we didn't have it. We don't have it creating.
Right.
We don't have a method for it to create.
Right. Okay. So let's bring back this if that says if we have errors, show us those errors. Here, let's go ahead and save the actual category. So what do you think that is? We actually have all of the CRUD methods in our service because we copied them over. So we called it create on our product service. So what should it be on our category service? Yeah, so it's the same thing. But what am I calling it on? Like, what should I do in this line?
You should try Siri.
Yeah, so how should I do
Yeah,
that?
but you still need to give
Oh,
the
you need to
ID.
call it category. You have to add it to something.
Yeah, so what's the name of our service in this case here?
Our category service.
Correct. Category service, and then dot.
That category.
We called it. You're all correct, actually. All we want to do is call dot. We called this method dot create on the service. It should take a whole category, and I think that's it. Now we can save things or save categories.
So that's saved, but it's not assigned to the product.
Right, so there's no foreign keys happening yet. We haven't done any foreign key stuff at all. So that's what we'll do in a second, which is how we'll do this. Because what I'm thinking is I don't want to do exactly the way they have this on here, because first of all, that gives away too much of this assignment. So what we'll do is something way more interesting, actually, I think. So you can see this happening kind of like real time. It'll be a little better, I think. So one last restart, and then we should be able to create categories. Okay, I think we're good. So let's go to refresh and then just add some categories finally. Food. So there we go. It's actually adding to the database now. All right, so then let's go with Maggie's favorite category, toiletries, and we'll go with what else? Electronics. Cool. All right, what else should we have in here? Let's do one more. What kind of category? What stuff should we sell on our site?
Clothes.
Clothes? Sure. Clothes. Okay, cool. So we have categories. That's great. We're not going to make a view for clicking on a specific category and then showing it and then having a drop down for stuff you can add. But what we will do is this. Let's create another route that's basically going to show us all products and all categories in drop downs. Then you can click on this drop down on either a product or a category and bind those two foreign keys together. So that's how I'm going to do it, just because I want to show you how to do it that way. Because if you can get doing it that way, you'll definitely understand how they're doing this here. So basically, let's actually just look at how they're doing it this way before we do that. So they have a products view page. So they have a page to view each product, right? And they have a drop down. So this drop down basically is going to show all products or all categories, right? And then they're going to say add this product number 1 to the category that you click on. And then they click add, and then it binds that foreign key. So it's the same thing, but in this case for categories. So how do you add a category to a product? In this case. So it's the same thing there. So really when you hit like category /2, for example, they're getting all products. When you hit product /2, for example, they're getting all categories. And then they're basically doing a loop here to show these drop down. And then again, it was like our example we did in the morning with Dojo's Ninjas. Each one of these is a primary key, in this case, in the in the products table that they're binding to in here. So what we're going to do is combine both of these pages together and have two drop downs. So we're going to have both of these drop downs here, and just let you click on whatever you feel like, and then have it bind that foreign key and put that into our ManytoMany table. So we're going to do it that way because it'll save us one extra view. All right, so to do all of that, we're going to create one more view. And to keep this kind of intuitive, I'm going to just call this view join.jsp. So we know that this is specifically for everything that's going to be foreign key related, just so you know. Now what might be a good idea is if you create a third controller that handles just things that have to do with putting things into your ManytoMany table or retrieving things. And we could call that like categories products controller. One word. So that has everything to do with just the ManytoMany table. That might be a good idea.
Alternatively, you can do it within and just embed it
Correct.
in each section.
Yeah, alternatively, you could have one controller or two or whatever. But generally, that's a good idea to do that. So I'm going to quickly just go ahead and do that. We'll call this category product controller.java. Okay, so this whole controller, all it's going to do is have one method in it. It's just called join. And then you're going to go to /join. It'll be a post. And then very concisely, like literally this controller is going to have that one thing and create the join for you. All right, so what I'll do is copy all this stuff really quick into our category controller, category product controller. So here's this new controller. We're going to get everything out of here. So all these. All right, so what we'll do is we're going to call this just /join, just to make it make sense. Yeah. So it'll have one method in here. I'm going to rename this to what we named the file. So it should be category product controller, just so you know that this is what's handling our ManytoMany stuff. All right, so what we'll do in this is we're going to actually need two references. We're going to need our product service, and we're also going to need our category service, just because we're going to need both of those things, I think. Actually, we might not. We may not. That might be a lie. But what we will need is a way to submit data. So what we're going to do is this is going to be a post mapping, and this is going to be our one route in this controller. So when you go to /join as a post, it's going to run whatever we put here. All right, so this is where we're going to do all the join stuff. So we'll say public string, and might as well call this join. So the interesting thing about what we're going to do here is we're going to have just two IDs, only two IDs in our URL. We're not using a form or any of that. It's just going to be a normal form. We pull IDs out of the URL. And then we just look for product ID and category ID, compare those, and then shove it into the ManytoMany table. So the way to do that is like this. It'll make sense, believe me. So we're going to have /join, for example, /, and you don't have to do it this way. I just think it's going to be probably pretty easy. So you can do this in whatever order you feel like, but what we'll do is you can actually just do this whole thing as a GET request, but that's probably a bad idea. There's a couple ways we can do this.
So here is where you want
Yeah.
Product ID and then the category ID.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking we could do. We could have like category ID, product ID, compare both of those, and then pull each one from the database, and then just make our entries, and then that would be it. But I think there's probably a better way. Hold on a second. You guys remember request param?
No.
Okay, so instead of path variable, let's use request param, because that's going to be better for what we want to do, I think. Instead of having variable parameters in the URL, we're going to just pull out whatever you clicked on as just an ID. So what we'll do is probably just have request mapping, and then we might call this just product ID. And this will be a long. So these are both going to be just longs, because all we can get out of this is just IDs for now. So we'll have like long, and then product ID, comma, and we'll do the same thing for the category ID. So since this is a request mapping, it's not coming from our URL, we're just pulling it out of your form. Right, so that's what the difference is. This can be like category ID, for example. So all we have here is just two IDs. That's it. So when somebody posts here, we should be able to get both those ID, both of those.
Because otherwise you'd have to use that whatever.
Right. Yeah, because otherwise you would use path variable. Yeah, path variable to pull all those out of like your URL here, which is totally fine. You could do that too. But I think this will be easier. All right, so here's how we'll do this. We have two IDs, right? So first of all, we should probably do the get request for this first. So if you make a get to /join, maybe what we'll do is we'll show you the page where we get all products and all categories, show those on the page as drop downs, so you can select whatever you feel like selecting. So here, let's do this.
So we're going to need the other service too.
Yeah, we're going to need to get both things from the database, probably. So we're probably going to need both services.
But this particular page, we're not rendering it.
Well, we're going to show you a page when you go to /join. We're going to show you a page with two drop downs, one that shows all products, one that shows all categories. Then you click submit, and whatever you clicked is what will join. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but
Okay.
I'll just wait till
You'll see in a second when it makes sense. When we actually create the view, you'll see how it's going to work. Yeah, so give me 1 second. Let's call this public string. For example, this will be for showing all products and all categories. We're going to put that on the page. What can we call this? Like, sure, we'll call it show. All right, so what we're going to do here is make a query to our database to get all products in all categories. And that's all we're going to do is put those on the page so you can select whatever you want. Yes, correct. We're also going to need our category service and category service. All right, so we'll put that there, but we're also going to need to shove this in the constructor. So this will be dependency injected, and then you'll do the same thing here. So for each service that you need, put both in your constructor, because otherwise it's going to be null, and then it'll yell at you. And you'll have a hard time finding where that error is, probably. Because it'll be like, you have null pointers. All right, so we've dependency injected both services that we need, because we need to query for everything, all products and all categories.
We also need to import filter category model category service.
Yes, that's true. Correct. Let's import those really quick before it breaks. So we'll import both of these. So there's that. All right, so now we can put model in here, which I hope we have imported. Yes, we do. Okay, so now we can say, get all this stuff from our database and put it in the context of our page. So how would I do that? Yes, so model add attribute. We can call one categories and one products, for example. So for categories, we can say, call it that. And then how would I make a query to get all of my categories? We have our category service and product service.
So category service all.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah, so whatever the method is that we call it, it's probably all, so we can check by going here, category service, and this is what we use to get all categories, for example, in this service. Yeah, so we're just calling find all on the repository, right? So this is the service, it's talking to the repository.
So the controller calls our service method, which our service method calls our find all query.
Right, on the repository. Correct. Right. It's a lengthy cycle.
It basically is passing data through all these multiple channels.
It is.
To track how the data moves.
Exactly. Correct. All right, so we've got all categories when we go to this show route. So how do I get all products?
Model.add attribute.
The same way?
Products.
So like this?
Service.
and I'll call it products.
Okay.
Same but different.
Same but different. Okay, so let's say products.
Product service.
Yeah, so now product service. Cool. Yes, also probably .all, because that's just the way we named it. All right, so we've got this on our page.
The attribute that we put in quotes is what is the attribute that we use on the
So
page.
that's what we would do.
Correct. Sorry, say it one more time. Categories what?
Like, if we name that and we wanted to pull information and render, is that what we're
Yes, so correct. So whenever we call these strings on right here in this controller, that's what you actually you're going to be iterating on the page. Yeah, so if I call this categories 1, 2, 3, then I have to do a for each loop, a C for each loop as categories 1, 2, 3 being the items equals
Here's categories.
yeah. Correct. So we've got queries, but how do I render my view? Our join view. Yeah, return something, right? So yeah, so this join JSP. All right, so now we have a way to show the page and all of these categories of products. That's great. So we'll worry about this part in a second, but this matters more, so we'll do the hardest portion of it last. But now what's more important is just getting this view to render. So I'm going to get rid of this for just a second. All right, so we're getting really close, actually. We'll be done in probably 5 minutes. All right, so let's just make sure there's no errors with this, and there is. So I probably forgot an import or a return type. 28, category controller, 28. 28. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so that was just a typo on my part. So it thought that I had a constructor, but I didn't. Okay. We're live. We're good. Okay, so we're in business. We can finally go to this /join route, and it's not going to work just yet because there's only one last thing we have to do, which is to merge those two foreign keys, which you'll see in just a second. Okay, so if we go to /join, we have nothing on the page yet. So now, at least this is running, and we actually have all the stuff we need on the page. We just have to loop it. All right, so let's just really quickly do that. So let's go to our join page.
You would have to create a regular form in this one?
Yeah, so these are going to be regular forms. So let me go here and paste all this. We don't need a table, but we do want to loop stuff. And let's see, how do we want to do this? /join. So we're going to have two forms. All right, we're going to have one. They're both going to go to /join. All right, so the thing that's going to be interesting is, no, we're not. We're going to have one form with two inputs. One's going to be for category ID, and one's going to be for product ID. All right, so they're all going to go to this one place. All right, we don't need this form either. Why don't we just ditch this and make our own? How about that? Let's just get rid of that. All right, so a blank HTML page. We don't even need a title because I don't know what to title this as. It'd be weird. It's like join page. Let's call it join page. Okay. All right, so what we'll do is we need a form. It's going to have two inputs. So one is going to be for the product ID, one's for the category ID. Where are we sending this?
Join.
Yeah, so we're going to send it to join. Okay, and then we need a method of post. Let's make our submit button. Submit, values join. Okay, so I need two inputs. So what are their types going to be? And what should I put in here? Yes. So we need a select because we want to have a way to loop all the stuff that we just queried and put it on the page. Okay, so we're actually going to have two selects. Right? One's going to let you select a category. One's going to let you select a product. All right, so now that we have this, these are just going to be normal name equals, right? Because we're not using the form thing. We're going to just pull this out manually with a request param, right? Because we did that in our controller. So let's say that this one's category ID, right? This one will just loop all of our categories and give you the option to select whatever you feel like. This one will be for all of our products. Okay, so you can see these are very clearly two different inputs. we're going to loop literally right here, all categories, we're going to loop all products here. So we give you the drop downs for each. So how can I do that? How do I loop all of our categories?
C for each.
Okay. Yeah, so C for each, capital.
Item.
Yeah, so items, okay. Like,
Those categories.
correct, so categories, because that's what we called it on the page. Okay, so we're just looping this data. Nothing really new here, actually. All right, so there's that.
Okay, add category or whatever, something.
You do. So we need var equals, and then we'll just call it category, for example. Okay, so now we're looping all categories. What do we want to make as the next thing that it's going to create inside of each iteration?
So a table or whatever, or
I forgot this
not sure how you do a select.
So it's like you have a select, and then there's things that you can click on.
It's the, I forget
It starts
what
with an
the
O.
Option.
Option. Yeah. So we need these option tags, okay? Not an opt group. I don't know what the heck that is. We want option tags.
And then you would do the category dot.
So you said category dot name. Okay. So this is for us to see, right? The one that matters is that one, right? Yeah. So this one in here, this is what we're going to be pulling out of our form, so we can see the category you clicked on as a number in our controller join method. Okay. So this is going to be pretty important. We need to know the ID of the category you clicked on. That's going to give us this here. All right. So this is literally all we need for that. Does this whole part make sense? Because we're just making like a select tag for every category that exists. We create an option in the dropdown. All right, so when each time you click an option, right, we're just secretly adding the primary key of it as the value.
So why are we doing that with just a regular form as opposed to binding it?
Because there wouldn't really be a way. I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why we have to do it this way is because we don't actually have a model to represent our many-to-many table, which is another way I was going to show you after all of this, if you're interested.
Oh, so if we created a third.
Yeah, so you'd have to create a third model to represent your many-to-many table,
So
which you can
essentially
do.
Essentially, you're joining them manually.
Yeah,
With
super
that-
manually,
yeah.
which is going to be good for you because you're going to see how this works and it's going to be useful.
So this is the long way.
It's not the wrong way. It's actually just,
Is this the long way that they
The
show
long
us,
way.
and then you're going to show us
yeah,
adding that third model, which makes
Right.
it easier to just bind everything.
yeah, it does. Because if you add a third model, I'll show you that after. It makes querying a lot easier. You don't have to do a raw SQL join. Because now we're going to have to do a raw SQL join to get all
I was
entries.
going to say, I thought this
So I'll
was
sh-
faster.
I'll show you another way later that'll make sense.
Okay.
All right, so let's stick with that.
But the value equals category ID is the same thing as in the controller in the request form.
Right.
That's what we're pulling
So-
out with that request param.
Yeah, see this? This is what we're pulling out in our request param in the controller. Yeah, so it's pulling out this ID of the thing you clicked on. So this is just a number here. This is what we call it in the controller, or what we're looking for in the controller. All right, so the same thing is going to happen for our products. So let's just loop all of these, okay? So now we have product ID here. This is going to be changed to products, correct. So loop all of our products. This will be product. So will these two. All right, so it's the same exact thing. So you might also want to show like the cost of the product or something if you want. Go for it. But for now, what's important is we can refresh and see very clearly that we have two options. So we have categories and products we can select. When we hit submit, we're going to process what you did right here that's commented out. All right, so for now, let's just restart and see what we have. So very, very close to being done. I said that like 5 minutes ago, but it's okay.
It's like the money thing.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what's important. So now you can see what we have here. These are all categories on the left. These are all products on the right. You can click whatever you feel like to assign something to a category or assign a product to a category or whatever, or the inverse of that. Okay, so if I want to add soap as a type of food, for example, I could click join right now, which would be weird. So I'm not going to do that. But it's not going to work yet. But the important part is if I click on these, you can see here's all of our categories. Right, so here's all of our categories. For example, if I clicked on electronics, that's going to be number 3, right? This is the 3rd category in my SQL. So it has that being bound right now. It's holding on to the number 3, right? So now if I go over here, change this to like 2, this is category ID number 3, product number 2. So you just think of this in terms of if you had like a MySQL chart, right? It's entering, it has its own ID. Product ID right now is 2, category ID is 3. So it's making this, it's going to make this entry into that ManytoMany in just a second. All right, so now, is this making sense so far? Okay, because it might not in just a second. So.
Yeah, following is hard to grasp how it gets put together.
Okay.
Like how we put it together on our own, sort of.
I see. Okay.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
practice. Yeah.
That's just, yeah, mostly practice and a lot of erroring. Okay, so the last part to kind of make all this work is, first of all, what I want to do is just log this product ID that you clicked on and log the category ID so you can literally see these are changing. All right, and then we're going to finally redirect and make this actually do something, okay? And we'll check also in MySQL that it saves it, and then that's pretty much it. I'll leave displaying the things that do have a relationship up to you. Because actually it depends. What are we at? Like an hour already? See? If you guys want to keep going, I'm okay with it. But after this. Okay, so let's return our redirect to /join again. So we'll take you back to where you just came from. All right. And then we're going to just simply print out first the product ID, just so you can see that this is doing something. So let's say product ID, and just log this, and then we'll log the category ID that you clicked on. So let's do this. Forgive my spelling. Alright, so we're restarting. All we're going to do is just see the stuff that you clicked on, and that's it. If it works.
Because it's not
Should work.
saving this right now.
Right, it's not saving, and we haven't told it to make it the relationship at all, which is going to get hairy pretty quick. So, it might not. It might not. What did I break? Line 42? Broke something on line 42. What? Yeah, what?
Do you input it?
Do you have to? Yeah, you should have to do that, but I think I already have it up here. Huh. Okay. Public string, we're returning a redirect to join, printing stuff, and that's it.
Is join maybe a keyword that we don't want to use?
No, it's not actually. So why don't we, I think for some reason these prints were like breaking something. Maybe that was it. May have done something wrong. Nope. 42. We're not even really using an annotation. Okay. We're doing ManytoMany. Yeah. We're pretty much done actually in a second. Once we figure out what this error means. Listen. It says I'm using annotation on this line right here that it doesn't like. Request mapping. Do you guys see anything wrong with this? It says that this is a problem here, or this is.
What else?
Are we using
When you're
request
assigning
mapping?
it, and then you're declaring
I think so.
Shouldn't it be something?
Oh wait, isn't it request param?
Yeah.
Request mapping?
That's what it is. That's not right.
Request mapping is definitely not correct at all, so let's fix that. Alright,
Did you import it?
let's see if we have that imported. Do we have request param? I don't think we do. Request parmesan. Yeah, request mapping is for like right here where you basically for defining a route. Yeah. Alright, so what we'll do is this. Let's go to request param spring. And then we'll find the package that it belongs to and copy it. Need to know what package it's from. Yeah, path variables for like getting stuff out of the URL. Request param spring class. Where are the spring docs? I don't see the spring docs. Oh, here we go. Request mapping, not that one.
It's just web dot. It's the same thing. It's just request param.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's just like web dot line dot annotation.
Okay, so it's this and then request param. I'm using Sublime instead of STS. So it's self-induced issues really, most of it. Okay, so we'll figure out what happened there. Honestly, I would use Vim, but that's just not a good idea. So 7-second boot time. That's great. All right. So we've established that it compiles now. That's cool. So what we'll do is I want to bring back really quick just the product ID, and then we'll finally make this work. ID plus product ID. Category. Category ID. All right. Close. Restart. Now things should be okay. Yeah, I thought we would be done a little sooner, but that's fine. I think it's... Yeah. Alright, so let's refresh this and then hopefully see something in the console. So I'll click join, and if I refresh, you'll see this is what we decided to click on. Alright, so let me spam answer so you can see that. Alright, so we got product ID number 2, category ID number 7. When SQL puts this into a table, it's just going to do this, right? It's going to be doing something like, oh my god. Yeah, so if you imagine a table, right, like this is poor ASCII art, but just bear with me. So it's like it has an ID of its own, then you have a product ID, and then you have a category ID, right? So it's saving it just like this, right? This will be the first entry. For example, what do we have? Product ID 2, number 2 there, and it saves the category ID as a 7, right? So it's saving this in our category underscore products table just like this. So it's just numbers. All right, so that's what we're going to emulate right now. I do that for my own sanity. And then the next time we put in a new entry, right, this has its own auto increment ID. We might save product number 3 that belongs to category 7. Right, so we have something like that. So I just wanted to show that really quick.
So
all right.
If I get a new ID, right? A join ID.
Sorry?
Do these give a join ID?
What do you mean by that?
Like when you...
A join ID?
Like the join tables.
Yeah, the
join
join
table
table,
ID.
there's
Yeah.
like the 2 IDs from both models.
I think she needed
So you have the ID in the category.
Yeah.
ID on the different side.
No, they're totally, yeah. So the entry gets its own unique ID.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's why I had those 3 things there. It was like ID, product ID, category ID. Because the entry itself into the ManytoMany also counts.
And would you use the join ID to render information?
Yeah, you could do that.
Because then that would give you access to both models, right?
Yes, it does, exactly. Which I'll show you how to do that later. So that brings us back to another way to do this. So what we're going to do is take this product ID, go look for this in the database, hold on to it. Then we're going to add, for example, there's 2 ways to do this. You can grab this from the database by its ID, right? And we'll have access to that product. Then we can add to that product's list of categories that category that you clicked. Or we can do the opposite. We can get this category from the database, add to its list of products that product. So that's either way will work identically the same. So I'll show you both really quick. So how would I get from my database, from our product service? How do I get this out of my database by its ID, by this ID? With our product service.
Product.service.
So it's like,
Find by ID.
yeah, product service find by ID. Let's just double check what we called this over here in product service. We called it find one, and it takes the ID. So let's go look for this thing by its ID. So product ID. All right, so this is going to give us some sort of product here, right? So that is the whole product. So it's not just an ID now. We have the whole thing from the database. All right, so how do I do the same thing for the category?
It's the same thing.
Correct. So let's just make this category. All right. Then this becomes category service, find by ID, category ID. Okay, so now we have both of these things as concrete objects. They're not just numbers. Right? So we have both of these objects. So I can do this one of two ways. We know that we have setters and getters, so we can't use public variables to access stuff we need. So what we can do is say on this product, first I need to get from this product all of the categories that exist, right? And then I can add to that list this category. So how can I, with the attributes that we know that exist for a product, get all of the categories that it belongs to, or that it has? I actually gave it away in that sentence, but
Say what you said again.
Category service.
how do I get all of the categories from a product?
Product.get.
Get what?
Category.
Correct. All right, so if you're curious, go look at your product model. All right.
You said find one, yet you're calling it find by ID. Are you really one? Isn't that the case that you need to change that?
Wait, where?
It depends on which one you're calling, which one you're referencing.
Yeah,
Because
so
one of
find,
them's in your.
find by ID. If you
Oh,
go
we
back
did
to-
call it find one. You're right.
Yeah.
That should be find one. They're both probably find one. Okay, so there's
just wanted to
that.
check it out.
No, you're right.
Because the find by ID is what's probably the query that's in the repository. Or not repository, but the service.
What did I do?
You literally went to that page and you were like, okay, it's called.
I don't know.
Find one.
And then I forgot to change it, so that was my fault. All right, so what we want to do though is get all of the categories that belong to this one product. All right, so that's how we're going to do this. Right? We have this getter called get categories, right? And if you take a look at your product model, you have categories, right? Right. So one product has many categories, right? So if you remember, we have this list of categories. So that's what we're going to try to retrieve. It might be empty at first, and that's okay. So what we're going to do is say on the thing you clicked, this product, get all the categories that exist. Okay? So here's what this might look like. ArrayList category. So this is where it's going to get convoluted. So bear with me for 1 second, because this is going to be categories. But this categories is only categories that exist from this product, which might be nothing. Might be an empty list.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to make that super clear. So I'll line break stuff so you know what does what.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have to do.
Right. Let's comment this. All categories that belong to this one product. All right. So that's what this is. Only categories that belong to that. Okay. So now that we have all of those, how do I shove this category that you clicked into that list? Because that's all we need.
Add.
Okay. Good. So I'm glad you remembered how to add stuff to an array list, because there's been a lot of stuff we've been doing, so it's pretty easy to forget. So do what?
Categories.
Okay, so categories.add. That's it. Then what am I adding to these categories?
Category.
That's why we're doing this, because it's confusing.
Categories done.
Correct.
Adding categories, so it's going to be.
Yes. So look at the type. That'll tell you what you have to add.
Where did get categories come from?
So that's coming from our product here. So we got the whole product out of our database, and on a product model, you have categories.
But
Right,
did
but
we
we-
create the get? Is
We
that
did
a
not.
get?
We didn't create a get
That's
categories
what
or
it
set categories.
Okay, so that's not a getter and setter.
There's not right now, so we have to create that. So it's going to break if we try to run this.
Okay.
I remembered that, but yes, you're right.
It is a getter and a setter, but we just don't have it yet.
Right.
I didn't see it on the page, so I was like, what?
Yeah, no, that's very observant. You're correct. This is going to break, but this is how we want to do it. For example, all right. So now with those categories, we want to add the new category you clicked. That's cool and all, but what do you think is going to happen if I save the products now? What else do you think we'd have to do?
You have to save the ID of it, don't you? The category ID with the vice versa.
You don't have to do the same thing on the other side. You only have to do one. All right. So the thing is we've got this. We got both things. We got the categories for the one product. Added this category to this product's list of categories. All right. Now there's 2 more steps.
Save it.
You do have to save it, but there's one really important thing you have to do after that, and that's to say, what other thing do we have other than a getter for this?
We have a setter.
Okay. All right. So if that's the case, after we add this,
Oh, categories or wait, what? Hold on.
watch this happen. That's it.
So you're
We've
setting the old
finished.
category. It's gonna be a list. Okay, so the product category.
So
now
just take a minute
is
to
gonna be in a
process
list
it.
Of all the categories.
Alright,
Yeah.
So 45. We're finding the
Yeah, starting up here, right? Start from here.
We're finding the category.
Find the category you
And
clicked.
then we're finding the product.
Find the product you clicked.
Okay. Then that category we're finding
We're creating a new list
Okay.
of
categories
Right.
for the product.
From
for
this
this one product.
Right. Okay, so we're getting all the things that exist for this one product. Okay, and then what?
Calling that, we're adding to that list
Uh-huh.
the category that we selected,
Okay. Right.
and then we're setting that to the product,
You're
that
overriding
whole
all the
list.
categories.
Correct. So we're pulling out the list, we're putting a new thing in, and then we're putting it back, and then we're saying save this thing.
So the last line is adding the list to the product or the product to the category.
Well, the way we did it is we're adding a category to a product.
You're adding the list of categories to a product is the last
Correct.
one.
Right? So think of it doing this, and then you could also flip this on its head and do the inverse of this. So you could say get
Yep.
yeah.
But it's
So you could say
right-
get a category, get products, add that, do the same thing. So there's 2 ways to do that.
If anyone ever has an aneurysm for walking,
An aneurysm. Oh man. No, I can't say I have. All right, so guess what? There's one last step, and that's to save. So what am I saving here?
You're saving the categories.
Correct. All right, so then how do I do that? If we want to.
save.
Okay. So category service. Actually, no. Wait. No. This is not category service. This is actually in our product service. We want to update that product. Right? Because we. That was in perfect harmony.
So,
All right.
So product service dot save category.
Yeah, exactly. So product service,
yeah, 'cause we're
on this
setting the
thing.
product. Yeah.
right? We could say update or save or whatever you have. So we probably have this update method, and we want to actually update
The category.
that product.
The product, yeah.
We want to actually update this product, right? Because we're manipulating this product's categories.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like we have this thing, get all of its categories, this line 48, get all of its categories, add to it the thing you clicked, that category, right? And then we can say set that product's categories to the new list of categories. Then we can say finally save that product. And that's kind of like the whole shebang. So now we can finally say product, and that is it. So here's your join. Isn't this beautiful? So again, like you can do this, or you can think of it in the inverse situation where you have, we would still keep these two lines, right? But instead of getting all the categories for one product, What if I wanted to get all products from the one category you clicked?
So you got ArrayList product.
Yeah.
Products
So switch
is
everything.
equal to category dot get product.
Correct. And then what would you do here?
Products dot add product.
Yes. And then what?
Category dot set products.
Correct. So you've done
Category service dot update category.
correct. Yes. So that would be identically the same thing as what we just did here. This whole process.
Isn't Java great? Our spring.
But does this make sense?
I didn't like it 12 years ago.
If it does not, tell me what line doesn't, and we'll look at it 100 times because
No,
I'm
it
okay with that.
It's just we don't
Okay, good. So if you understand this, then that's literally all there is to a many-to-many. All right, so it's like, again, we're taking this stuff out of the form that somebody gave us as IDs, right? Look at this service, find this by its ID as the whole object. You get the whole category, not an ID, it's the whole category. Same with the product. You get the whole product by its ID. Now you have those two things. Now you can do it either which way you want from this point onward, from downward.
Can we, just like you said, we can make a model and a service. A model can have this specific action,
Correct.
or rather, and then have it as a service, and then just call that action here instead of doing everything here.
Yeah, totally. You could have a
Which is
joint
what- is that
method
what
on
you were-
a model.
Is that what you're meaning by having it as a third one, where you would
Well,
doing it automatically?
let me show you that now, then. If that's what we want to do, let's do
I
that
mean,
because
that's just like, is that the way that you were saying, or is that something like?
no, you can totally do that. In fact, later on, you'll hit like a user dashboard or admin dashboard assignment. They'll show you where you can have as many functions on a model as you want. Like for example, we don't have one right now, but if we had a user model and we were doing the admin dashboard assignment, well, what they want you to do there is have different roles for each user. You might have an admin, super admin, moderator, and so on. Well, what if I wanted to know if they were an admin? Well, I could just check their user level on my user model and just make a function literally in a model that tells me that, which is really cool. So yes, you can have functions on a model, pretty much, which is cool. So like, all right, so to actually, because there's no way for us to actually interact with our many-to-many table other than raw SQL queries, what you can do is emulate that third table. To do that, all you have to do is create a new model. And what's important to realize is that that model is now going to have to be named identically to your many-to-many table name. So we have to call our class that, which is just ugly. So whenever you name this, make sure that if you are going to do it this way that I'm going to show you, make sure that looks nice because it's going to look gross when I do this. So let's do this. I'm going to copy our many-to-many table name, close everything out because we don't need any of this now. All right. And this is going to save you from doing raw SQL joins. If you don't like raw SQL joins, then this will help if you want to use the ORM instead. All right, so let's call this category product. This is a new
Well, you gotta
model.
make the same thing, though.
Yeah, my bad, thank you. See, I already broke it. So our class name has to be exactly that, okay? Actually, no, it doesn't. I'm a liar. I'm a liar. So you remember that? Yeah, you remember?
Have that attribute there.
Do you remember that at table annotation I told you they can break things? We're actually going to use it here. That's gonna solve actually this one issue that we're gonna have. All right, so
That table value equals categories of the product.
absolutely. So now what we'll do is we'll say, here's our class. Oh God, what did I do? Category product. This is gonna handle one entry of a many-to-many entry, right? So all this is gonna have is itself an ID, a category ID, and a product ID. That's all it holds onto, right? And then that's pretty much it for now. All right, so let's go ahead and at least stub in the things we know we're going to need. All right, so let's get rid of this and pretty much everything else for now. The only thing we need is this setter and getter for the ID for a second. All right, so this is literally, this whole class is an entry for a many-to-many object. So what else do I need here? All we have is an ID so far.
So the product ID, category ID.
Correct. So we need a product ID, which should be a long. Okay, so product underscore ID. I'm gonna just name these identically to what we named the foreign keys in the other models. All right, so we need a product ID.
Yeah,
Correct.
So in this model, you can have query.
Category.
You can interact with that join table right here.
Correct.
Because of that ability. Yeah.
Right. So this will let you literally query this exact table, you can actually query it and get all entries that have a many-to-many entries. Rather than doing a sprawl SQL join of both of your tables, you can just have this table sort of emulating. Well, it's not even emulating, it's just doing the join for you without you having to do it manually. So let's bring back in that ugly @table annotation, because it's really useful in this case. So the reason we need this is because this is what we can is what we're going to be calling the table in the database. So if we call this table the same as what we called our many table in our joins over here, then it'll work fine. So if we call this identically the same, it'll be perfectly fine to do this. All right, and that's all this model will do. Let's just make getters and setters for this, and then that's pretty much all we need. I think should be it. All right, so for a product ID, let's just make these annoying setters and getters. So how's this going to work?
A lot more boilerplates in terms of just raw stuff that you got to do before you can actually.
Like code?
Yeah.
I know. This needs to be a void. All right, so the thing is, Spring has really weird like naming conventions with like how it wants you to create a setter or a getter. So it's like, because I named this product underscore ID, it's probably I have to do set capital product underscore capital ID. It's weird. All right, so just bear with this syntax. I think it's like this. So it's going to force me to name this that if I want it to work. So I'll name this public string, no, long, get product underscore ID. I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it's going to want us to name stuff. So this gives us back a product ID, okay? And then it's the same thing for category ID. Why don't I just copy it? Need to change this to set category. This would be get category. Category. Okay, after all of that, this should work now. So in our constructor, we're going to change this to say category product, because it's going to break if I don't, because it doesn't know that it's a constructor. So now it knows that. All right, so that's all this model will represent. It's just 3 IDs. That's all it is. Okay, so now if I save this and restart, let's just make sure that it actually works.
And those are collect keys because in each of the other models we designate them as joins and
Correct. So there might be one thing that I broke. Hold on, what did I break?
Failed to execute code.
Yeah, so it failed to run our table.
Single method get
Yeah.
categories.
Yeah, so it's looking for this get categories getter. It's also looking for the table annotation.
you can create that in your SQL video.
I don't think so. So let's import this table annotation. So this should be, it's looking for a getter called get categories, but we didn't
also
make
have
it.
to annotate that in our application properties file that we did when we do, because you designate what the schema is, you know, the 3306.
Yeah.
Do you also have to add a categories products one then as well, or no?
No, that's just like that's just your database name. So that's just for the database name, not like a table name.
Okay.
Yeah, so that can be whatever you actually want. All right, so I think it was yelling at us because we don't have setters and getters for set and get categories. So let's just do this real quick.
It's just like the difference is that Mongo doesn't care if you have a main or not. This one you have to make it in order for it to access it.
Correct. Yeah. All right, why don't we just grab this, chuck it over here.
It was the same thing for SQL9, right? Mongo and Django already did that for you.
Yeah, Django does a lot really nicely for you. All right, so let's do return categories. And I'm not even saying this will work, but I'm pretty sure the platform shows you how to do it this way later on. All right, so there's setter and getter for categories. What else did we miss? Let's see what else we missed. Okay, so I don't have ArrayList imported in product 67. Okay. Product 67. I don't have this. It shouldn't be an ArrayList anyway. It should be just a list. Do I even have that? Yes, we do. Okay, cool. So the other thing is category. Do I have set and get products? We do. Cool. Alright, one last run. Then we'll make sure this even worked. Models that category can't be cast into an ArrayList. Category controller. Category product controller 48. Okay. It's saying it's way over here on 48. Alright, so it's getting mad at me because I made this an array list, but we're returning when I say product category is a list. So that should be fine if I change that to a list. Yeah, because it was expecting a list, but I had array list here. Okay, so that should be fine. What else did I break? Man, I broke a lot of stuff. I can't find simple list. Category product 48.
Probably wasn't important.
Yep. Yeah, so preferably don't use Sublime for text editing in Job Spring.
Yay.
We got it to run. I'm surprised that worked. I'm actually pretty surprised that worked. That should not have worked. I was expecting something bad to happen, but it worked. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna try to make this join really quick, and then that's pretty much it. All right, so why don't we, now that we've kind of emulated that table, I'm gonna just go ahead and run this. We're gonna try to make a join finally, and then we'll show this in SQL, and then I will stop the recording. So let's try to add something that makes sense. We'll add soap to toiletries. Hopefully, when I click this, it doesn't explode. So we're gonna try this. Something bad happened. All right. Okay then. What was our error? Let's see what it tells us. It's a very chunky error. Man.
Does it have a default value?
ID doesn't have a default. Java SQL. Oh, you know what? I think it's because we renamed. It's because of what we just did with this third model, I think. Wait a second. Where is that model? It's over here. What? Some of this stuff's named wrong for one. Huh. Alright, I think what I want to do is just, I'm going to get rid of this third model we made for a second, because I think it's breaking something. So I'm deleting that. And I have it copied, so it should be fine. I'm going to just leave this here, just copied. Alright, we'll try this one more time. Resend. Okay. Couldn't execute statement. Why not? What happened this time? ID doesn't have a default.
Is this
ManytoMany, products categories.
Java SQL exception? Oh, it doesn't like your SQL.
Yes, it's an ID right here. We're not using raw SQL.
Oh, well then that's
Prepared statement, barked.
I think maybe the ID isn't being passed.
Seems like that is the case, correct.
So
Okay,
I guess in your
so-
service, check to see if the ID exists.
Okay, so let's leave that there, and it seems like maybe something over here is not happening, is not doing what we want. Okay, so how about comment some of this? Huh?
Is this an update?
No, this is for making a join in the ManytoMany table. Yes. Okay, so let's keep what we had there, because at one point we were logging this and it worked. So why don't we do this? Categories.add. product.set categories.
If you made it on, if you already have a model in it, you shouldn't be having to do the raw query, right?
In fact, now that we made that third table, if we did bring that back, it would make this way easier because you don't have to do this. You could just make an entry into that model until it's saved.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the whole point of having it was so that you mentioned it so that we could have an action rather than having to do one service on the other service.
Yeah.
You just have one service which handles
Creating that join. Exactly. So the third model that we had, what we can do with that to minimize all of this stuff, basically just bring that back and then have it so that all it does is it takes in 2 IDs and then have it create that. And then you don't need any of this. And then that would work. That's totally fine. Generally. But this is supposed to work this way, so I'm going to try to figure out why it's not, and then that will be it. I feel like all of this is working except for this update. Wait, why am I doing an update? It should be a create anyways. Or no, it shouldn't. No.
if it's not in there.
It's trying to update. Huh. Why does it say it doesn't have a default? It would be nice if it told us which one doesn't have a default. It doesn't say that, does it? No. I don't know. Bless you. ID doesn't have a default. I don't know why. Why don't we try this? I have an idea. Let's just do this. I'm going to say product, because sometimes this can happen. I'm going to say set this product's ID to product ID. It said something about ID being null. I'm going to just give this a shot and we'll see what happens. Sometimes this happens and it's like null for some reason. So let's see if this does something different when we try to update the product. Sometimes it can be null. Yeah, okay, we're good. Let me just try this again. Just go to /join. Let's go to electronics. An end on a box. Join. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that's happening. I don't know where this ID is coming from. That's the problem. Wait, ID doesn't have a default. SQL error, SQL state, whatever that means. Field ID doesn't have a default. Why don't we just grab this and Google it? Okay. Whoa. What? Let's just say field ID doesn't have a default. It's pretty much this. This guy's trying to do a join. Yeah, I don't know what's causing that. Nobody seems to know here. What about this? I've seen this work before. Generated value.
Typically looks something like this.
Let's try this. I think I've seen this work before.
What does that do?
I think what it does, instead of this, it's supposed to just set... Actually, what's interesting is I think this is an enumeration, so it's saying set this strategy to this enumeration, which is just a number, and it's calling a function behind the scenes doing something a certain way to basically give you a generated value. So we'll talk about what that does tomorrow.
So an auto increment.
Yeah, it's basically incrementing. So we're gonna save that. Oops. I think so. Yeah, it's mad at this ID here. So we're gonna do the same for our other one. Sorry, our category over here. Give it this. And then I'm gonna just put this on our product as well, because I remember this is actually on the platform, and it tells you to do this. Because this was, if you don't put this in here, it just apparently doesn't work. So it seems like it's this never used to be an issue. I think it's only a problem with the new version of Spring. So I'm gonna just put that in there. Long boot times. Okay, what does that say? I need to import it now. Generation type dot identity. Yeah. Let's see, where can we find this class? Spring docs. So it comes from here. So let me import this. Okay, and then I'll do the same in the other model. Product and then category. Yeah, so I think next time we'll just use Spring Tool Suite.
Do you need the other one too?
Where? The third model?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's just do it that way after we know that this works the correct way. Okay, so it's at least running, so I really hope now it will let us finally make an entry. So we'll say food and then soap, sure. Join. Yeah, so we're still getting this issue. I don't know what it means. Never had this error before. ID doesn't have a default. I don't know what that means. Alright, so I'm gonna just like keep looking this up because I don't know what it means. So I'm gonna just stop the video here and then